What's going on, kings and queens? It's your boy Chaz Jackson coming back to you once again, representing GNG, Gift and a Gift. Hey, now I just want to take the time to tell you thank you tonight for giving me your eyes and your ears once again on this Wednesday as we get ready to dive deep into some inspiration that I pray will plant like a seed in your mind and assist you in becoming a greater version of yourselves. And we have another powerhouse show in place for you. And you know our motto, if you've been tuning in through this live stream, or if you've been listening on podcasts, you know that our motto is we're all gifted differently to make a difference. And I truly know that there's some different makers that's looking at this video right now. Go ahead, share, comment, let us know that you're there. If you're looking at the replay, definitely let us know that you bless us with your presence. Get you a pen and paper. I'm telling you right now, you won't be disappointed. Get you a pen and paper. And definitely, I'm telling you, got a powerhouse speaker, awesome guy that's going to be bringing us some jewels here. And before I even read off his short bio and introduce him to you, I just want to go over the mission of his platform, and it's to provide tips and techniques of personal development to young males. And I challenge them as well as myself personally, and also challenge you who's listening to me to become a passionate visionary who is determined to leave a legacy for themselves by adopting unwavering life values and serving others in an area of gifting led by God. And this theme, as you know, you've been tuning in. Our theme is we are equipping young black males on their journey through the battlefield of injustice, continuing the Summer Soldier series. My man Justin Rambo's in the house. Let me read off his short bio. I'm going to get to this giant on this conversation that you guys are truly going to take a lot of value and gain a lot of golden nuggets from this talk. But Justin Rambo is a personal development coach. In his youth, Justin had an explosive temper, which normally landed him in trouble, dealing with self-doubt and inferiority complex, graduating high school with a 1-point-something GPA, having his first child, and dropping out of college twice by the age of 21, failed relationships, multiple car repossessions, and piling up over 6 figures in debt. The odds were stacked against him. By 26, Justin succeeded in his third attempt in college and earned his bachelor's degree. By 28, he opened his first business in 2013. 14, Justin was introduced to personal development. From there, his life began to change. And in 2019, Versatile Success LLC was launched. His podcast was launched, and he wrote his first book, Turn Down the Noise. Justin wants to share, help, and teach you about the power of personal development and how it will positively change your life. My man, Justin, you are live on GNG podcast live stream. Are you ready to get it going, champion?
Man, I'm ready. You got me amped up. You got me hyped up. I'm ready to listen. When you're reading that bio, I'm like, man, who is that he's talking about? So, man, the way you read it with energy, man, it helps out.
Hey, when I read that, I was just like, this guy's really been through a lot of adversity, and it really speaks volumes from everything that you have accomplished this far. And I know it's so much more that you're going to be bringing for this earth to experience. But I know that was short and brief. Is there anything else you want to add to that introduction?
Man, it's just listening. Yeah, I guess I'll add something. Sometimes when you hear your own life story and the things you've gone through, it adds more tools. It equips you more for the things to come. So just by you reading that inspires me to keep going. And even knowing that when life happens, I've gotten through something before and I can get through it again. So listen, kudos to you for how much energy you come with that.
Hey, definitely. And it helps out, man, when you have somebody that's really passionate and the words on this page just speaks volumes. Again, I'm so blessed, and the audience is going to be blessed about what we're about to talk about even more. So, even off the cameras, we talked about, empowering and providing tips and techniques for the young black male. And let's just take it from here. Any race is going to be looking at this screen right now. But can you just Just share with the audience about your thoughts on what's going on in the country right now. What are your thoughts about that?
Man, it's like I'm a big history buff, and for me, history repeats itself. It's cyclical. And since I've studied history so much, you sort of know what other people's mindsets are. You sort of know what's going on and what happens. But the difference is, in my opinion, is I think more people are aware of the issues and more people are on the side of justice. I think, in my opinion, I did a video, this is probably a couple months ago, explaining the whole Black Lives Matter and why people are so upset. But I gave the history of just America itself and how just by the actions, because I'm a big action taker, right? And I also believe actions speak louder than words, just by the actions of America, how it seems like Black lives don't matter. And so the point of the video I did was to educate people and bring people together. I wasn't going to point the finger at certain individuals who are just not sure, right? They haven't been exposed to that. I mean, maybe they grew up in a certain area where they didn't see racism. But for me, I grew up in the suburbs where there are a lot of just different races, right? So I understand how everybody thinks. And so for me, I feel like I'm the middle ground for a lot of things. So I felt like it was my job to educate individuals on history and the topics. And I tell you, I was nervous to put the video out, but I said, you know what? I have a duty to do this because I'm not going to be the one that is just yelling at someone who doesn't understand what's going on or yelling at someone in terms of how they should react or shouldn't react. But why not just educate? And I had so much feedback, great feedback from that video. I think it's like 1.7 views, right? K views. And there are people that were sharing that video that I know, I guess to put it in a nice way, they didn't understand the whole movement at first. I put it that way. And they even shared it on their page and they said, you know what? He's a respectable young man. Let's listen. So it's just education. You have to understand history. You can't just say, oh, this is new and we don't know how to deal with it. No, history repeats itself. It's cyclical. And not just in America, you have other countries, other civilizations, other kingdoms that have all gone through the same thing. There's nothing new under the sun. It's just a matter of how much information you understand and how much information you can take in to then take action, because information is key, and used the right way, it is the key that can unlock the door.
Dude, I hope you took my advice and got that pen and paper out. But you said so a lot of stuff that was gold. And the main thing that stood out was that education, information, providing people with education. And obviously, they have to be willing to accept that information. But when you do get that willing individual that's eager to learn more, that's paramount. And I run into a lot of young people, even Black people, African Americans, that they really don't want to research. They don't want to look back in history because why we want to go back into the past, or why do we want to revisit those things? And you said it correctly. When you get that information and you really dive deep more on your ancestors and even far back, even to the 1492s, there's a lot of thoughts on the African culture and that aspect as well. It's going to help you progress even further in life. I even heard the analogy of like a slingshot. If you think about a slingshot, the further back you pull that slingshot, the faster whatever you're shooting is going to go. So the further back you go back in history, the further you're going to go in life and be able to project and go after your dreams and goals, because you're going to be more prepared for situations. And yeah, so that's gold what you shared of this sharing and providing education to those who's willing to, learn more. So
Right. And you know what? And you'll have people that may not want to hear what you want to say. And that's okay, because you'll have people that are stuck in their ways no matter what the issue is in life. You'll have people stuck in their ways. I guess the goal is to get whatever information you need to get out and then keep moving, because if you get bogged down by trying to run your head against a brick wall, who's losing that battle? You're not going to win that battle. So do what you need to do, and then keep moving life forward. Because by you moving your life forward, it doesn't only just help you, but it helps so many other people. Versus if you just tried to run your head against that brick wall.
Dude, that makes so much sense. And turn down the noise. Congratulations on your book. I have to get it. I have to read it. I'm sure there's a lot of gold in it. I know I've heard you talk a little bit about it off camera, but kind of share some of your thoughts of what was behind Turn Down the Noise, your book, and the mindset that it took to write that book.
Listen, in the intro, I mean, you said it. I graduated high school with a 1 point something GPA, and I don't remember exactly what it was. I just know by my senior year, the college recruiters came for football, and they wanted to know my GPA. I went to the counselor. I didn't want to know what it was. The counselor handed me a note with a piece of paper that had the GPA on it and handed it to my coach, and he yelled it out loud. So I was embarrassed, but it made me aware of what it was, right? It was like a 1 point something, but I just didn't apply myself in school. And so for me to write a book at the time I was 33 when I was writing it, 34 when I was writing it. And at first, when I had the idea to write the book, it was like, okay, who's going to read a book from me? What have I accomplished? But I realized the book wasn't for me to think about that in that aspect. It was more so, how can it help other individuals? Who is it speaking to? Oh, it's speaking to me. And there's a lot of people like me. And so I'll give you a short, I guess, example of how the book came about. 2014 to 2018, I was really searching for myself because I was going through some dark moments because I had my first brick and mortar business. And I had it for about 4.5 years, but business goes up and down, right? So I was dealing with that. I was dealing with a tumultuous co-parenting relationship at the time. And then just a lot of things coming at me. And so I heard the term personal development. Okay, what is that? Do I press a button? Do I purchase a course? Like, I don't know what personal development is. So the more I started reading on it and listening to things, I'm like, I've always been this self-aware person. I've always tried to grow. So I've been doing it my whole life. I just didn't know there was a term, and then there was different ways to do it. And so from 2014 to 2018, I made it a mission to just grow as a person because I was going through those issues. 2018, I took it a little bit more serious. 2019, I took it 100% serious to the fact where I said, hey, I don't know, because at this time, I wasn't doing the business anymore. I closed it down. In 2019, I said, what would happen if I dedicate one whole year to eliminating all my distractions? No TV, no social media, no music. And I'll get to that part later because it always gets people. Those 3 things had to go because those are my 3 biggest distractions. So I would get up every day, 4:30 in the morning. I would come down to my basement. The wife was asleep, kids are asleep. That way I can pray, meditate, say my affirmations and mantras, and then try to figure out what my purpose is, what my passion is, and what I should be doing. I would do that every morning. And I would say my affirmations and mantras 3 times a day, 2 or 3 times a day. And one day, I'll never forget it. It was February 25th, 2019, which was a Monday. I come home early from my then 9-to-5 job. And like I said, I want to dedicate a whole year to being productive and figure out what I want to do. I started reading a book. When I was reading that book, the idea for the business, how I should run it, what I should be doing, the whole personal development thing, and the book came to me. And I call it a download day. And the reason why it came to me is because I had less distractions, but I was seeking something. I was trying to grow as a person. And then when all that stuff hit me at once, and I kid you, at once, I mean, by the end of that night, I had the business name, the EIN, the LLC, the business logo created, and I started working on the outline of the book. But I was seeking it. And then I realized this stuff has been in my face the entire time. I was just too distracted to see it. And so when I cleared all the noise away, my purpose became very clear. It's like when you have that radio dial, right? You turn the station a little bit and you hear some noise. You turn it a little bit more. Okay, you're starting to pick up some of the sentences now. You click it, you get it on the right dial, all the messages come to you. So it made me reflect,
Mm.
man, this has been in me all the time. I had no distractions. So I'd never written a book before. I'm not the best in terms of English, grammar, and things like that. I said, but you know what? It was in me. So if it's a gift, what I have, let me put it out there to the world. It only took me 6 weeks to write because I had no distractions and I knew what the mission was. And then thus the name of the book, Turn Down the Noise, is about eliminating distractions to go within yourself, to find your passion and your purpose, and then use that to pursue life how you want to pursue it.
I love that. Turning down the noise, dude. You said something brilliant there. How you isolated yourself for a little bit, even in the good book. Jesus had to go away for that certain amount of time before he came back to really do, his calling, what God placed on his heart. There's something about just getting silent and being with yourself, and even though you might have those emotions that's dwelling in your mind that wants to kind of get you out of that zone, but being disciplined and staying in that calling or in that position or that environment, it's amazing what thoughts and things come to mind to help you gravitate and go and inspire and grow those dreams, gifts, how you develop values, interests, and principles, just based off of this being within your inner self. And like you said, like you had kind of read a book and then, some of those ideals, you kind of sit with that and then it helped birth everything that God was placed on your heart to do. So that's
Yeah.
that's that's huge there. That's huge there. And there was an African proverb that just popped in my head for some reason. It said, if there is no enemy within, the enemy outsiders can do us no harm. So
Mm.
once we deal with what's going on inside of us, once we get back, with us within, because a lot of our answers are right there. We constantly want to look externally and try to find things whenever everything is right there. If we can just get quiet and turn down the noise. I love that title, man. That was brilliant. And
Yeah,
and
definitely.
and the question, so based off of this theme, uh, as far as equipping young black males on their journey towards the power of injustice, obviously there's a lot of noise going on right now, right? There's memes on social media, and you know, with the police brutality and the stereotypes. Is there any tips or techniques or one that just kind of stands out in your book that you would share with that young male that's looking at you right now, as they're working on turning down the noise that's going on in their reality right now? Is there one thing that pops in your mind?
There's actually two things that pop into my mind. The first thing is to educate yourself, understand what's going on, not just currently, but just understand the history of certain things. So that's the first thing, is just really study. The second thing I would say is honestly take that time to get by yourself, because I want to touch on this. Once you go within, you start to find your superpowers, which I call, your strengths, your superpowers, your unique gifts. And when you use your gifts and you aim your gifts, it hits the target. Meaning, when I did that video I just told you about earlier, had I not been educated, had I not known what my gifts were in terms of communicating or how to communicate, I would have done it in the wrong way and it would have fell on the wrong ears. It wouldn't have made an impact. So you have to understand yourself. And listen, I want to say this: not everybody is meant to speak on certain things in the same way. Like,
Mm.
there's different ways for people to put information out there to raise awareness. Some people don't have to do it out loud. Some people can do it behind closed doors. Everyone can do it in their own way. And that is the most important thing, because when you do it in your own way, you're doing it how it's unique to you. When it becomes authentic, you feel confident and you're delivering the stuff in the right way. So I would say educate yourself, go within to figure yourself out and figure out what your gifts are, how you communicate, or what your superpowers are, or what you can do to help. Because you have some people that are really good in front of crowds. You have some people that are really good behind the scenes. You have some people who are really good with communicating on certain topics. But everyone has their own unique gifts. So I would say those two things.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the model, we're all gifted differently to make a difference. And
Hmm.
yeah, owning your gift, because out of 7.5 billion people, no one has your fingerprint. Like you are uniquely, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. So yeah, I truly believe that, and it's owning up to it. And yeah, and everybody's not made to stand out, like you said, man. It could just be that one individual that comes in your path, but because you took the time to educate yourself, whenever they're having questions, you're planting that seed, and that seed is going to grow, and they're going to be able to kind of keep passing it on and reciprocating. And I think that kind of goes back to just having experiences in general. Like you went through all of that stuff with your GPA, with those failed relationships, with the multiple car repossessions. You've seen one side of that coin, but now that you're able to flip that coin over and you've learned from those experiences, you're able to have those conversations with people that's going through that right now. And I know you're impacting a lot of people in that fashion. So yeah, so that experience, and that obstacle turns into opportunities to be able to share, and yeah, and just shine your light for sure. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah. Do you
sure, for
mind if I
sure.
touch on this real quick too?
Yes,
So
sir.
you
Go ahead.
you you
Go ahead,
spark
King.
you yeah, you sparked something when you said, you know, when I've gone through those things and come on the other side, I have equipped myself. I can share the experiences and things like that. So one reason that I'm also really big in history, and we'll keep probably talking about it, is when you look at history, success leaves clues, as they say, right? So there are
Mm,
certain things that are achieved by different people across thousands of years, and you can pinpoint certain things that are all the same. So there's so many stories of other individuals who have overcome things. We live in 2020. If someone in 1619 or 1820 can overcome the things they overcame without all the technology we have now, why shouldn't I? So I
exactly.
sometimes draw on other experiences, looking at history. Listen, my wife makes fun of me. I watch the same history shows every now and then just for some inspiration and some tips and some motivation. And she's like, why do you keep watching that stuff? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the same thing. I'm like, yeah, but every time I find that one thing. And so it just sometimes you just draw on those other experiences to help. So for a lot of people, it's hard to go internal and find yourself. Sometimes it's okay to just study things for a while first. And then once you go within, you realize, oh man, I have some of those same traits. And this is how they got over it. All right, let's go. So yeah, that's one reason I love history.
Most definitely. And the more so, I'm kind of on this journey where I'm learning a lot more about Black history for sure. And I'll tell you, Brother Floyd and Aubrey, Breonna Taylor, all these situations kind of ignited me to want to dive deep even more and even more to, to work on ways to create solutions during a problem. And even dating back to 1619 when slavery, excuse me, first started like in this country, or ideally that's the date that it says that slavery started. If you think about that, only the best of the best could survive that. Only the best
Mm-hmm.
of the best. Only the best of the best, even if you go even before that, could have survived on those ships to make it over here. Only the best of the best could survive being unplugged from their homes, from their environment where their values, interests, and principles was being lived out, and just coming into this foreign world and your whole world being turned a whole 180 and survived it. Like our ancestors done that, and this even is going back, and I won't dive too deep into it, but those instances of the Martin Luther Kings and the Malcolm X's and everything, and Rosa Parks and etc. Everything that they went through to get to where we are right now. If they didn't pursue and continue to strive to take two steps forward, one step back, and become their strongest version in their era, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation on the computer right now. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. My mind wraps around the best of the best. Like that's who they were, and that's what they was working so hard for Chaz and Justin to be able to do and continue to grow the next generation. So yeah,
Yeah.
that
Hey,
that
listen to this
motivates me,
though.
man, to know that the best of the best has survived all the way to this point, 2020. And even though
Yeah.
the world's not fair, it's fair enough. if we continue to ground ourselves and get good values, interests, and principles in place for
Yep.
ourselves and our families to continue to grow the next generation, we can
Yeah.
continue to strive for greater heights.
Listen to this though. So you mentioned Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, the big figures we know, right? And
Right.
you and I can draw strength from that. But imagine if your great great grandfather was one of those big names. How much more would you be doing now? And
Ooh.
so for me, what I'm doing is not just for the now. It's not just for my wife. It's not just for my kids. It's not for my grandkids. It's for my great great grandkids. Because when they look at the family tree, I want them to know what my name is and not just think about it as another name and realize this name is the reason why we're doing what we're doing now, or this name is the reason why we can do the things that we can do because this name stepped up, found his way, found a superpower, and went after it. And now we can do the things we want. And I want them to be able to draw the strength from that, because when I look at my family tree for a lot of African Americans, it gets lost sometimes, because of slavery. That's, there weren't certain records kept, but records are kept now. And so if
Mhm.
they went through that, why would we hold back whatever it is you want to do? Why would we hold back and try not to be our best selves and show up the best? Because when I want my great great grandkids, because at some point, someone in my generation is going to look at the family tree. I want them to see my name and see and know who I am.
That's gold. And that's my journey too. It's like, no one in my family had wrote a book until 2019 when I purchased my first book, Live, Learn, Lead Powerfully. And it's like, that's that standard that's set right now. So when my little nieces and my nephew and my two daughters look, they say, hey, if daddy did that, I can do that. So setting that standard for your family, and we're both have that same ideal, that mindset of, just setting that bar. And obviously I want to set it as high as possible, but hey, I'm looking for my daughters to write 4 or 5 books. You know what I mean? I want them to be even better, and I want their kids, if God let them have kids, to be better and better. So yeah, just striving and continue just to set that bar as high as possible. And obviously, if you are able to see it, it's just more potent for someone to actually look at that target and go after it. So yeah, we're creating that standard for our families. So that's so true.
Definitely. Yep.
That's so true. So as far as that male that's looking right now, let's put yourself back in, I don't know, high school right now, 15,
Oh
16,
boy.
and you know what you know right now, and your friend is saying, why should I keep going right now, Justin? Why should I keep going? Why should I keep fighting even during all of this is going on, COVID-19, the racial discrimination? I mean, we can draw the line and plug it right now, right? But what's the first thing that comes to mind if your friend came to you right now and said, why should I keep pushing forward to go after my dreams and goals?
Listen, if Martin Luther King said that before the civil rights movement, if Malcolm X said that before the civil rights movement, if it doesn't matter any race, if anyone that has done anything significant in terms of going after their dreams decided not to because of an event in history, where will we be? And
Mm,
so I would say you never know where you're going to end up, but you have a great idea where you will end up if you don't do anything,
mm,
because we don't know what is going to happen in the future, but we have a better chance if we're striving for something, right? We go through the motions, strive for something. And here's one thing I want to stress. It's okay to sometimes take a break. It's okay to sometimes take a rest. It's not, you don't have to always go, 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 go. You know your season. Maybe this season is time for you to just sit back, because sometimes things happen for us in order for us to slow down, take inventory, and then go, or to refuel and then go. Just like if you drive from New York to Florida, you got to stop at a gas station at some point. You got to eat at some point. You got to use the bathroom at some point. So if you feel like that, take inventory of yourself and say, am I feeling like that because of everything that's going on? Or is there something deeper where I just need to slow down and take inventory and figure out how to move forward? But you never want to stop, because the human experience, just earth nature, everything just has to keep moving, has to keep moving. You have to keep moving. We're built to move. And if we're built to move physically, then guess what? We're built to move mentally as well. And so you never know what you really have inside of you if you don't ever do anything. Me talking to you right now on this camera a year ago, I would have said I would never do that because I never wanted to be on camera and I never wanted to be on a microphone. But since I knew what my purpose was, I'm doing it. And guess what? It's helping other people. Even from my podcast, there's people that from California that reach out to me. Now, if I would have just sat back and said, I'm going through this phase, man, I don't want to do it, I would have never been able to help those people. Everyone has gifts. Everyone has a purpose. If I gave you a car right now, if I bought you a 2021 Cadillac Escalade, that's a gift.
I appreciate it, man. I like that.
right. But if you tell me if I come to you a year later, I'm like, yeah, how's the car? Oh, I haven't even taken it out to the garage. How would I feel about you? So think about how the creator feels about you if you're not using your gifts, because they were unique and they were for you to use. If Superman didn't use his powers, if Batman didn't use his powers, if Wonder Woman didn't use her powers, there were a lot of people that would suffer. And so I would say, man, figure out if it's the season for you just to take inventory or if you're just in your feelings a little bit, but you have to at some point get back up and keep going.
I love that. You have to keep getting up. Denzel said one time that you got to just keep failing forward, failing forward and learning from your mistakes, kind of going back to us even talking about those experiences, allowing your obstacles, your trials and tribulations to be education and experience. So adversity rhythms with university. So it's kind of like, there's always something to learn, always something to experience. But like you said, even when we first started this show of how you got to a point where you was spending more time by yourself and you was able to find more clarity from that. So just taking that time and being able to know that it's a process. I heard it said once that like success is not a destination, it's a journey. So knowing like, hey, I'm not going to be a master teacher of history tomorrow. It's going to be a journey. And I have to be okay with that. I have to be okay with my emotions through that process. I have to be okay and just sit with myself and know that it's a journey. And, I just have to keep taking steps forward, regardless how that looks like, because the old Chaz would always, if something didn't work out the way that I planned at the beginning, then you just shut it all down. But, things tend to not work out the way that you planned. It doesn't mean it's not going to work, but, at times you just have to just come back to the drawing board and really write things down. I truly believe there's something powerful about writing stuff down. I know we're kind of getting away from writing
you're
things
good.
down from like the computer and voice apps and all that kind of stuff. But it's something powerful about just getting alone and just writing down your thoughts and really crunching out what exactly you have on that paper and getting good people around you to be able to, that you feel safe around and who you trust to go over what's on that paper and really, like you said, going through the process. So that was really deep. For sure.
Yeah. And I want to expound real quick. So if there's anyone that's listening and you're trying to strive for whatever you want to strive for, right? And you go through those days where things are not working out right, there's these ups and downs. Think about the story you can tell when you're on the other side. Like that story becomes sweeter. And so if I came on this show right now and said, yeah, man, life has been sweet, man, I've always been like this, no one would resonate with me. So think about sometimes when you're going through that in your head, like I'm going through it for a reason, because when I'm growing as an individual, it's going to be pain. When you grow physically as a child, you get sore, right? When you grow physically from working out, you get sore. When caterpillars go into the cocoon, I'm pretty sure it's not comfortable, but they come out a butterfly. Right. So you have to think about what the end game or what the process is. You have to go through something in order to grow. And so, for instance, I remember last week, there's a day where things just weren't working out. And I was like, man, I don't know what it is. I was in the mood, but I told myself, isn't this story going to be great after it's done? And so I knew at that moment, I'm going to the next level now because I was going through whatever I was going through. So I just want everyone to remember that when you're going through something, you're growing if you let it happen.
For sure. Diamonds are made under pressure. All right.
Hmm.
Diamonds are made under pressure. Let's even go back. I know you said you was an athlete. Football is my sport too. What position did you play? Real quick.
Running back.
Running
Running
back?
back. You want to know my 40 time was? I always like to put this out there.
Oh
Now,
man.
it was handheld time, so it wasn't like legit, but it was a 4.31. I
Oh.
was really good with
Was that
short
like a
bursts.
one timer or was it you did it?
No, they made me run it 4 times that day. It was like a 4.31 and 4.36, but it was handheld time, and it was like I had track spikes on, so I was on the track. It made it a little easier. But I was good for short bursts. Anything longer than that, man, I would start to lose my speed. But yeah, football is my main sport.
Awesome. Mine too. I had the opportunity to play. I played running back and linebacker, but when I went to the collegiate level, I played linebacker primarily. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's big. That's big. 4.3. You was moving.
I had some speed, but honestly, I didn't really care about football. I was just doing it because I was good, and that was part of the issue. That's I was just going through the motions because it was I was good, and everyone else catered to me, so that was part of me not knowing myself.
I got you. I got you. And last question here. So you again, who's ever listening right now know you're getting tons of value and gold from this, and I know we're going to get even more from this last question here. So, what is the greatest lesson that you feel that you have learned so far? Thinking about right now on July the 22nd, 2020, what's the greatest lesson that you learned that you'd like to share to the audience?
Hmm. I think the greatest lesson, that's a good question. Because obviously in life, there's so many lessons. I would say, okay, I would say your current situation is not always going to be your current situation.
Mm,
So depending on how you go through that situation will determine what your new situation is going to be like. And what I mean by that is you have to realize whatever place you're at in life now, whether good or bad, is not going to be the same going forward. It's not going to be the same next year or the year after that, or even a month after that. But how you deal with it in between, that time in between, is going to determine how the new situation comes about. And so for me, that helped me get over things really quick or try to learn a lesson from things really quick and then go forward and not stumble in terms of so much where I just fall and give up. So I would say just having that hindsight and that reflection, because that's when when you go inside yourself, you have that self-reflection, you understand that those times are there for a blink, and how you deal with it in that moment will determine where you go next.
mm, I love it. I love it because it's like you can either play the victim role, you can play the unique role based off of how the world come at you and how things can oppress you in that moment and overcoming that victim role or that unique role meaning you know, I'm the only person that's going through this right now, and you don't understand me, but really realizing that that's not the case, and just pushing forward, like you said, is really key. So, yeah, that's really deep right there. That's deep, and I know, guarantee somebody's listening right now is like, this guy Justin Rambo dropped some gold. I want to reach out to him. I want to reach out to him. I want to get to know him more. Can you just share with the audience? Hey, this is how you contact me.
Yeah. So first, Chaz, I want to say thank you for having me on. It's definitely a pleasure. And just to be on someone else's show, I love sitting in this seat versus the interviewer. So definitely thank you. But you can reach out to me through DM, Facebook, right? And then also Instagram. My Instagram handle is J underscore Rambo 85. That's the numerical value 85. And then if you want to know a little bit more about my business, it's called Versatile Success. So it's versatilesuccess.com. It has all the I have on there, all the services. You can contact me directly through there. And then the book is on Amazon. It's called Turn Down the Noise. But yeah, Chaz, thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. And I know you got some amazing courses on your website as well that I've kind of came aware of, the entrepreneurship audience and personal development. So my man Justin, he's killing the game, and there's so much more. I'm sure he's constantly throwing logs on the fire, that burning fire, and within. I heard a quote said one time that you got to keep fueling that fire inside of you because it's blowing with knowledge and beauty. And bro, man, knowledge and beauty is coming through the screen right now. I know God has so much more in store for you. You definitely blessed me from the short period that I've been in contact with you, and I look forward to growing with you even more. And gosh, man, just keep striving for greatness. You're definitely gifted differently to make a difference, and you're uniquely gifted differently to strive and change lives. So thank you so much for what you do, and continue to shine your light. And you always got me, man, here to kind of lift you up and to keep striving to help you towards your greatest version. So thank you so much for taking the time out and coming on GNG live stream.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm going to lead us out real quick. Hey, I knew each and every one of you took so much value from Justin Rambo. Definitely drop your comments on what you like best. Let me know personally if I can help you. Obviously, you can hit me up here on Facebook. That's where you're looking at me right now, or ChazJacksonSpeaks.org or at ChazJacksonSpeaks. But hey, I want each and every one of you to do something for me. I want you to stay up with GNG. More of these videos, live streams, podcasts are coming soon. And I want you to do me one other favor. Remember to keep those crowns on your hearts. And remember this, we are God's echo. I love each and every one of you. Peace.